Welcome back to Project Hardway. In this video, we're gonna fire me up. We're gonna make some noise. We're gonna put some fire in the pipes. We're gonna bring the thunder. We're gonna disturb the peace.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Virginia lives, baby. Happy New Year, you glorious bastards. In this video, we're gonna take the 402 cubic inch big block Chevy, drop it into my 1979 Camaro, and button it up just enough so we can get it to fire off for the first time since the rebuild. If you want to get up to speed on where we're at now, look back on my channel. There's videos going all the way from tearing this engine down and rebuilding it back together on something of a budget. Also, like the video, let me know if you like what you're seeing. Subscribe to the channel, that'll really help your boy out. Let's get to it. Okay, here we are. Got the hoist out, got my levelizer all bolted up. Hopefully this thing's up to the task. And I've also got my, universal engine cradle on standby. Because remember, we're not ready to quite stab this thing in just yet. I still got to put the oil plug in the back of the camshaft, and then we got to put the clutch and flywheel assembly on it. So let's get it off the stand. Woo! There she is. That was a sigh of relief from the engine stand. Give this thing a real good wipe down because that engine assembly lube is the stickiest of the icky. I'm gonna be a little naive and try to smack this thing in with just a dead blow. It's a lot bigger than a freeze plug. I don't think I've got anything that exactly fits in there. Set that right there. Try to tap it in. Just tap it in. Ow. Just tap it in. There we go. Oh, nope. I thought I had her going. Come on. Oh, now I gotta clean it. Try it again. Remember when I talked about being naive? Yeah, that showed itself, didn't it? Now that I got RTV all over me again, guess what I've found? 36 millimeter axle socket. Who would have thought? Old dead blow ain't dead blowing. Certainly not user error. Dearly beloved, we're gathered here today for me to jack this up. Here we go. There we go. Looks good to me. Let's break out that flywheel. All right. God, these things are heavy. All right, here's my flywheel. You may recall if you watched my video where I took the engine out of the car and took everything apart, that when I got into the flywheel and clutch and everything, I said that I was going to just go ahead and replace it. Well, I didn't. Instead, I got this flywheel resurfaced when I got the heads resurfaced. So for now, I'm going to pop this up on here. I've got some fresh ARP hardware. We'll put some red Loctite on those because, again, I'm not using your lube ARP. All right, Loctiting. And then once I've got it up there hand tight, we'll set the engine down on the universal engine cradle and then torque those bolts down. Oh my God, here we go. Oh, it's so heavy. Oh, golly. Oh, I can't see a thing. There we go, that's better than nothing. Go ahead and get one of these bolts on standby. Oh. Still can't see anything. Oh, so old. Oh God. All right. Well, if the engine would spin around the other way, I wouldn't be fighting just to see the holes. Bring her down. Bring her down a bit. A little less ass I'll have to put into it. Oh, that's so heavy. Where are them holes at? Oh, almost right where they need to be. There we go. These ARP bolts are 12-point bolts, so you'll need a 12-point socket, of course. We'll go in a crisscross pattern when we hit it with the torque. Got the old universal engine cradle there. And ARP has requested that I torque these bolts to 85 foot-pounds. So I shall oblige. Now the old universal engine hoist here. It's going to hopefully hold the flywheel still instead of allowing the engine to turn over. Click. And remember, crisscross pattern. Top to bottom. Oh, it's wanting to turn. This universal engine cradle is supposed to have a built-in flywheel holding provision. There we go. Now I'll go back to that first one and just kind of double check it. We're good. So when I took everything apart, I talked about replacing all this stuff. But like I said before, got my flywheel resurfaced. Clutch, it's got a little bit of wear on it, but it's not terrible. I think it didn't get broken in correctly. So I'm hoping that if I'm good to it a little bit when I first get the car running, I can bring her back around. And when you order a new clutch and stuff, you get a alignment tool with it. But if you just need the tool for the job putting your old stuff back in, I got this one from Dorman at O'Reilly's, 26 spline clutch alignment tool. Now this clutch is a dual friction. It's got your standard on the flywheel side, and it's got these little pucks on the pressure plate side. And this clutch and flywheel kit, this is actually from a company called Ram's Clutches. It's a pretty decent kit. I was looking at just replacing this flywheel, or I'm sorry, this clutch disc. It doesn't sound like a lot of money to some hardcore manual transmission guys, but just this disc alone is $300, and I'm used to getting full clutch and pressure plate kits for $300. Right, for my next bit, I'm gonna get chastised in the comments section, which is okay. Bring it. Say what you want to say. It's not gonna be any worse than anything I've ever heard before. But this pressure plate, I did not get it resurfaced, and you see it's got glazing and hot spots and stuff like that. So I'm gonna do something that that is not recommended. It's like a flapper wheel. I'm gonna try to resurface that. Now, key things to remember here is that first, as with any type of rotary tooling on any type of anything, when you're doing stuff like this where you're going around on things, you want to be consistent. Keep it moving. Don't stay in one spot for too long. Don't work one area for too long. I'm not even going to give this a trial run. I'm just going to dig right into it. You guys are going along for the ride with me. So hopefully this thing's tight. Here we go. Well, if there's one thing that was consistent. Not quite sure how much of a difference I really made either. It looks a little different, but that's relative. I'm gonna keep doing that though. I can only make it better, right? I feel like I've knocked down some of the glazing. I'm gonna stop there because this isn't the right way to do it. But I feel like I've at least made it a touch better than it was. And hoping that, just like with the clutch disc, be good to it, break it, put it through an actual break-in cycle, and we might just have a clutch that'll last us for a little bit. Otherwise, if you'll subscribe, like, and comment, the more you do that, the bit closer we get to being able to do more things, and maybe you guys can be a part of that and help out. There's my plug. Pressure plate is now on there. One thing you want to make sure you do is that as you start to apply any type of pressure onto these bolts when you're hand tightening them, reach in there and push that alignment tool up into the pilot bearing. That's going to center the clutch, because once it starts to squeeze together at all, it's going to hold that clutch plate in there, and if it's not centered, you're going to have a bad time. As is with the flywheel bolts, I've got ARP hardware for the pressure plate, as is with the flywheel bolt red Loctite, and as is with the flywheel bolts ARP has requested that I torque these to 45 foot-pounds, so I shall oblige. Do that in a crisscross pattern. Oh, scratching the paint. All is kumbaya. I'm an idiot. So, you know, the scatter shield here, if you're smart, you know what I forgot to do. There's a mid plate that goes behind the flywheel that you put on before you put all that on. I know professionals forget to do this too, so yeah. But still, now I gotta take all this shit back apart and do that all over again. I'm gonna go have a snack. Now that that's on there, it's time to put the transmission in. I should have drained the oil out of this transmission and put some fresh in it, but I didn't. So we'll just do it in the car, make things harder for ourselves. I've got just a little bit of grease on the input shaft, not too much. And now I'm gonna heave this thing onto the back of that. Whew, just like I did when I took it off. See how this goes. Lift with your legs, not your back, kids. Or a combination of both. All right. I hate trying to do this. It's gonna be a struggle. Here we go. Try not to knock throw-out bearing off there in your hole. There, oh, she went right in there. Oh, whew. You can't tell, I'm dying now. All right, still out of breath from that. We'll see if I can get it close enough that I can just ramrod it the rest of the way in there with the hardware. That water out of my universal engine cradle is making things slick in here. While you're watching, let me know if you see any skin cancer up there on the top of my head. Might need to talk to a doctor about that. For these bolts, the torque spec, I'm just gonna put them at, you know, until I feel like I'm starting to hurt myself. There's only one thing left to do now. Get her in there. Oh my goodness, it's spinning the wrong way. Set her down. Going up. There we go. Like a compass trying to point north. Right now I need to turn this thing and I don't have the room to turn it. Oh, that board's slick now. A little bit. Oh dear. That's always scary. Whew. Couldn't find a universal engine stand that didn't have water in it. Come on. Oh God.
Hello, Daddy.
Hello, darling. Joined now by our lovely assistant. Oh, careful, the floor's slick. Oh yeah. Car's moving. Huh. No, you stop now. Oh, it's so close I can taste it. Before I go any further, I'm gonna put the headers in place because I do not want to try to fight my freshly ceramic coated headers through the top or the bottom. I'd rather just have them sitting there waiting to go. Yeah. There we go, just more stuff to fight with as we get the engine in. No biggie. Oh, yeah, there we go. No. The screw fell out of, that's the thing. These things, they come apart, right? That screw just almost went right down into the lifter valley. Well, it did, but it almost fell into the cam. Would have been taking her right out. You guys okay? Good. Ease her down a tick.
Daddy, look. Hey. We're making a video, Mommy.
Get in there, you. Oh, it's so close. Start easing her down. Oh, great. A freaking frame horn in my way.
Oh, Daddy, I almost slipped in water.
What step, darling?
Are you talking to the other people or you?
Talking to you while the other people watch.
Yeah, but they're...
All 5 of you.
While you're talking to 5 people?
Probably, maybe less. I think we are ready to set her down. Holy cow, the motor mounts are almost lined up. Try to slip a motor mount bolt in one of these sides. That one went right in there.
Okay, the video is not all done yet, Daddy.
Of course, one side goes in just fine. The other side, you're always going to struggle with that. All right, so my phone died. That's my camera, by the way. It's my phone. But that wasn't going to stop me. There it is. Transmission mounts just kind of, the mount's bolted to the transmission, but the cross member is just sitting on the subframe. But that engine is in the car and not on the hoist. It's unbelievably relieving to have it sitting there. But that being said, your boy works night shift and I've got to be at work in about 8 hours, so I'm gonna close this down, get inside, get some sleep, and I'll pick back up as soon as I find a moment to start buttoning everything up. Oh yeah, she looking good. All right, we got Virginia up in the air now. I've got the transmission cross member all bolted in place. I've got my fuel pump back on. Right now I'm putting on the header gaskets. If you've ever had a small block or a big block Chevy with headers on it, you know that most gasket companies make their gaskets pretty sweet. You can actually put the end bolts in on your headers, leave them loose just in there, just enough that you can then slide the gasket. Now I've spent a couple extra dollars. I got a set of copper gaskets that have got these bosses on them. Tells you which side is out. There's no mistaking it. These hopefully will seal up really well, because if you've ever owned or known anybody that's got a big block or a small block Chevy, the headers tend to leak and they make a lot of ticking and clicking and clacking. Hopefully I don't have that issue. Fitting in the head's going to be in the way. But anyway, back to this. With those bolts in the end there and the others out, they've got those hooks on the end of the gasket. You can just have the end bolts in, leave the others out. Slide your header gasket down in between the cylinder head and the header, and then put your hardware in. Now, as is with the pressure plate hardware and the flywheel hardware and the cylinder heads and the main caps and the rod bearing or the rod caps, I got ARP hardware for the headers. This is stainless right here. These washers have got a groove on one side and they're flat on the other. I'm going to put the groove towards the head of the hardware and the flat side to the header flange. Header gaskets are in, headers are secured to the engine, and I can continue buttoning things up now. Now that I've got that oil line debacle taken care of, I've got the tube bent up out of the way, got the Z-bar for the clutch installed, return spring on it, everything feels good on it. Now, I'm ready to put my shaft in it. Got a little problem here. The old big block is making a tight squeeze to get that shaft in there. Yeah, we'll have to figure something else out. I might have to lift the engine up, and I don't want to fight with those motor mounts again. But, you know, I guess I might have to, won't I? So I had to step away from this steering shaft install yesterday, but man, this thing was fighting me hard. So trying to get the coupler back on the end of the column up here, the column started collapsing internally. If you don't know, steering columns are sleeved so that if you get in a crash, part of it will collapse inside of it so that the rest of the column doesn't, you know, go through you. So I had to fight it to get it on there and to keep it from collapsing on itself while I was working on it. And then this big old coupler in this tight little space here didn't want to jive. So I ended up taking all 3 bolts off of the steering gear so that I could maneuver it in a way to get it down, slide it all together in simultaneous motion. Okay, the engine is back where it should be. Everything's bolted in as it should be. Next, I'm going to put on the intake manifold. First thing you got to do, get a set of intake manifold gaskets. When you open them, they come with a distributor gasket, valley or China wall gaskets, then of course the gaskets themselves. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to take these China or valley wall gaskets, get rid of them. They're garbage. Then you're going to take your gray RTV silicone and just glob it all along the top of the China walls there. Let it sit there a little bit and tack up. Take your intake manifold gasket. My silicone has been sitting here for a while. It's a little tacky. I ran it right up to the edge of the head. That way I'm hoping that when I set this in place, that silicone will help hold my gasket where it should be, and I don't have to fish around for it once I plop the intake manifold on. Now, let's talk about the intake manifold. This car, when I bought it, had a no-name, off-brand Chinese air gap type manifold. So the runners are raised up above the bottom of the intake, and there's a gap that air goes through. It goes that way. I didn't want to leave it aluminum, that raw aluminum, because I just feel like it would take away from the pop of the Chevrolet Orange. So I painted it. Not only did I paint it, but I primed it, and I put a little spot of black on there. I got my wife to make me a stencil of a rat. For those of you that don't know, back in the day, Chevrolet small block engines were referred to as mouse motors. Big blocks, rat motors. Kids my age and stuff like that, they won't get it, but the boomers will be up on it. You guys will get it. Make sure the edges here are nice and clean. And then I just want to plop it right down on top of that silicone and pray that I don't have to wiggle it around. Now, to squeeze it all off, set of ARP intake manifold bolts. Intake manifold, check. Distributor, check. That is a Street Fire distributor. It's an MSD. It's an off-brand. Means it's Chinese. It works, I guess. So I'm ready to move on to building the spark plug wires for the engine. These are the ones I went with because I can't remember why, but I got them. I don't remember what color they are, so let's open the box, take a look at it, and we'll go through building one wire. Let's see, looks like it pulls out. There we go. We can do that. Hope I didn't buy the blue ones. Come on, can we, there's a sleeve. It is a sleeve. Won't be needing that where we're going. I bought the blue ones. Okay, well, maybe something in me thought that the blue would stand out nice on the orange, or, you know, after so many years of buying NGK plugs or NGK wires for my other junk, I said, hey, that'll do. So it's got a thing here. It says to do some stuff with the things. We've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They give you a couple extra, you know, for when you screw one up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, couple extra. Or unless, you know, Viper. This side goes to the spark plug in the engine. Now we've got to go to the engine, figure out how long we need this cable to be, and decide where we're going to cut it. All right, can you see what we're doing? Good, me either. So the plugs are not in the engine yet, but we can come down here to number 2. We'll call this 2. So we need this plug wire to go from this spark plug here, bring it around the back. Then I guess, I don't know if I want to wrap it that way. If I want to bring it around that way. But I believe either way it's going to be just fine. So I'm guessing right about there is where I'm going to cut it. So walk back over here to my workbench. I've still got my thumb where I want to cut it. I think I'll cut it just a little long. I bought these cheapo spark plug wire strippers, crimpers, dealies here. Snip. Oh, that was not a clean cut at all, was it? So these are 8mm wires. Strip away about 1/2 inch, hopefully. Hopefully I'm not cutting the wire again. If I do though, I can just use it for a wire that needs to be shorter. Boom! Fold the conductor core over the spark plug wire insulation. Okay, yeah, that's that. Place metal terminal over folded conductor wire. Spark plug wire, note, ensure the conductor core is folded back and in contact with the terminal. Put that bad girl in there. So there she is, she's all up in there. I'll set my wire down in there with the core towards the inside of the hole. Oh, come on. There we go. Let's screw this up. Yoink. Put all the squeeze on it. I probably should have watched a YouTube video on this before I did it, but now you can say you did. But look, she's crimped and she's on there, and that is a spark plug wire ready to go. Not still needs a boot on it. The more I think about it, the more I probably could have put this on here first and then slid it back up over it. Never mind, I've already done it. They give you this little pack of dielectric grease. Put a little bit of that in there, and you know, just there we go. We're getting somewhere now. Push that terminal all the way up in the boot, and when it's all said and done, it should be facing out where it can go over the terminal on the distributor cap. We'll go over here and click it on. Let's get that satisfying little snip. Oh yeah. If I wrap it around the back of the cap here, it'll go back around the back of the valve cover. Should be set. Go right down there to the number 2 cylinder if I put it around the front. Without setting on the header, without creating an issue with turning the distributor for timing. Now, wash, rinse, repeat 7 more times, and I'll have a full set of spark plug wires. Everything else on this car is ready to go with the exception of having the coolant system hooked up. I've got everything wired, oils in the transmission, drivetrain's back together. The carburetor's back on the engine. Fuel lines are plumbed up to it. I've got my battery ratchet strapped to the frame rail there. Don't laugh, you do it too. And there's 5 gallons of gas in the tank. I'm gonna fire this thing off. Flow bowls are filling up. Woo! find that sweet spot where it wants to hit. There we go. Woo!
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Woo! So the engine runs, Virginia breathes again, and it made noises, all the good ones too. And I'm excited, but I gotta reel myself back in here because we're not out of the garage yet. I've still got to put the exhaust back on it and put the cooling system back on in it so we can get it up to operating temperature, start tuning on the carburetor and the ignition timing. Man, nothing beats the sound of a big block Chevy at idle, especially when it's got a nice little cam in it. Join me for the next video where I rig up an electric fan to run on it, put an air fuel gauge in it, and put it together just enough to take it on a few rips around the neighborhood. Until then, guys, remember, sometimes you gotta do things the hard way.